Hello, I'm Dave Rousby and welcome to my update from the most recent UK board meeting back in February. It was a meeting where we looked back at 2014, we looked at the start to 2015, and we then went on as a board to look at member survey results and indeed some feedback from area committees, which led to a more strategic discussion to give the board's input to CIMA UK strategy. So first, touching on 2014, well, I'll talk globally first. It was a very good year for CIMA. We finished the year with 227,000 members and students across the world, and indeed we now have members and students in 179 countries. For the UK, it was a very good year. We hit our new student target, which was very pleasing, and we had very high numbers of students becoming members in 2014, which was very pleasing to see. The big thing for CIMA in 2014 was that we actually launched the revised syllabus and indeed the new assessment regime, which has now commenced and has started in 2015. And a quick update on that, in that the year's got off to a good start. We now have thousands of students taking the new exams. They've given up the pen and paper and are now going to Pearson VUE sites to take exams on computer. It's been quite a change for students, but nevertheless, as I say, the transition has gone well and students are now taking exams in their thousands. And indeed, they have the new online platform, CIMA Connect, to help support them before they take exams. So I do encourage all students to look at that resource. So that was 2014 and 2015, but the major part of the board meeting on February 28th was a discussion around that started with the member satisfaction results. There'd been a global survey back at the end of last year, and we looked at the UK results from that survey. And indeed, not unexpected and keeping with previous years, were the fact that the most valued aspects of membership to CIMA members in the UK were that they have a relevant qualification that gives them enhanced professional status and indeed improves their career prospects. Worth noting that in the satisfaction results themselves, overall satisfaction was at a 5-year high, which was very pleasing indeed. But the board took time to look at reasons as to why people would recommend CIMA, and indeed areas to look much further into, such that members would make it even more likely that they would recommend CIMA to other people. And that led us to discussions about how we would and should better engage with members, and in fact more specifically employers going forward. Maintaining the relevance of the qualification is a given. It's something that CIMA is absolutely committed to. We do it something like every 4 or 5 years, and we may even do it in shorter timescales in the future. But the other important thing that the board talked about was the need to promote the value of the Chartered Global Management Accountant designation, CGMA, to employers. We do a huge amount of work to let employers know what the value of a CIMA member brings to them. But clearly we do need to do a little bit more in that area. And indeed, the key points made here by the board were the value of ethics and how that underpins the CIMA qualifications. So some work to do there. But the board were also very keen that we do more work around the promotion of high quality research that CIMA has more and more of these days. And specifically mentioned here was the Global Management Accounting Principles, a large piece of work that also undertaken in 2014, and the principles themselves were actually launched back in October. And indeed, if anybody out there is using the principles or wishes to use them with their employer, I'd be delighted to hear from you to see how that's going. But something certainly that we need to push out to businesses, the Global Management Accounting Principles. Next, the board looked at some feedback from area committees, and these are the committees that collectively around the country put on over 400 events for members and students, mostly CPD, And the feedback from those committees, the main piece of feedback is they're looking for newer members to help them out, and indeed more specifically they're looking for students to help them out as well. So if there are any students or newer members out there that do wish to get involved in their committees, do please contact me, details to be shown at the end here. And finally, a couple of other things that were mentioned during the UK board with the value of CPD. Worth just mentioning that the new competency and learning website is now available for members' CPD needs. Well worth a look at. I'd encourage you to do that. We're also very keen that members can help us as they continue to do so, but in particular with schools, and indeed where a colleague of mine is actually going around the area committees explaining to them the link that we now have with Inspiring the Futures. So again, if there are any students or members out there in the UK that are willing to help us promote CIMA with schools, we do have a relationship with Inspiring the Futures, and again, details of how to get involved are at the end. And finally, February's meeting was indeed the last meeting of the committee year. Jim Callender has chaired that board for 2 years now. And we thanked him for all his work, and personally I'd like to thank Jim for all his support throughout the last 2 years. The next committee meeting takes place in June, and in the chair will be Louise Dudley. Perhaps worth mentioning that Louise actually joined the board as a student and has now succeeded in gaining CIMA membership, and for the next 2 years will chair the board. So look forward to working with Louise, and indeed in June I'll be back to give you a further update. Thank you.